Hello and welcome back to another episode of Into the Nexus. I'm your host, Corey. For those of you just joining the podcast, we are KG Nexus AI. We specialize in providing business intelligence and analytic solutions to help businesses scale their revenue. Today on Into the Nexus, we are joined by someone who has more than 16 years at the forefront of clean energy innovation. Scott Ameduri, President and co-founder of Enerlogics Networks. Scott has built an extensive career developing solutions for energy efficiency, demand response, renewable power, and large-scale facility operations. Under his leadership, the Enerlogics family of companies has grown to include multiple divisions focused on utility-level energy efficiency programs, commercial and industrial energy services, and the development of major solar and energy generation projects. Before taking on the president role, Scott spent nearly 9 years as vice president and co-founder of Enerlogics, helping shape the company's foundation in building automation, utility software, demand response technologies, and smart grid solutions. His work has enabled organizations across the country to reduce operating costs, modernize infrastructure, and transition to cleaner, smarter energy systems. Scott's career sits at the intersection of energy innovation, technology, market strategy, and real-world project execution, which makes him one of the most well-rounded voices in the clean tech space. Today, we get the pleasure to dive into his journey, the future of intelligent energy systems, and where the next major opportunities in clean energy are emerging. Scott, welcome to the show.
Corey, thank you for having me.
All right, let's jump right in. Tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us your background, your journey. We want to hear what brought you and led you to the solar energy industry.
I think probably like most, it's not been a linear journey. I started my career in college as an electrical engineer. Did my BS and MS at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland. Really didn't know what I was going to do with it, but spent my grad school doing robotics and automation in concert with Cleveland Clinic on some medical treatment systems. Like everybody else in the 90s with an engineering degree, it was sort of where do you want to go? I went out west to Arizona and spent about 5 years at Motorola doing space and satellite systems, so Iridium handsets. We're the follow-on doing basically what SpaceX is doing now, but 20 years ago before we had the technology to make it as small and as fast and as cheap as it is now. I did go to another telecom startup after that, kind of got the entrepreneurial bug of being in the telecom space, led systems and software development at that company. And then while I was working there, I got my MBA as well. Went to Arizona State, working full time, got my MBA, and really started to put together more and more of that nexus between technology and business. I spent the first 8-10 years of my career is focusing on being a technologist guy. I wanted to be an engineer, wanted to do all that stuff. I fought having the business sense and finally I just said, screw it. I understand the business side. I might as well bridge both worlds, which has been a really good background for a lot of the things that I'm doing now. In 2005-ish, my dad actually co-founded a company in the demand and response space. I was helping them, partially on the side as it got going, turned into a full-time job. And then in 2009, we all exited that company. My father and I and the third co-founder and started Enerlogics. But, really kind of got into the space on the backs of it's something interesting, right? It's here. It's always going to be here. We're always going to need energy, no matter what flavor it looks like. And there are, 3 ways to make facilities very operationally efficient. Energy efficiency, reduce what you use. Demand response, kind of shift when you use it, and then you look at on-site generation to kind of source it from different avenues. But again, like everybody else, not a very linear journey on how we got here. I kind of look at this as my second career after telecom. But what's really interesting is all the parallels between telecom, where that was in the 90s in the heyday and the early 2000s, to where energy is now. So it's really interesting, kind of just seeing that juxtaposition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is definitely a major shift in your journey. And like you said, it's rarely and hardly ever linear. Like you try something, you think it's the right fit, until you realize, you know what, like you said, screw it, I'm gonna go try something different. And
Right.
that's what you did. And landed on your feet. Definitely landed on your feet.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. So Scott, when you zoom out and look at the wider energy landscape and solar energy landscape, I should say, what major shifts or trends do you think are shaping the future of solar and the renewable energy space?
Yeah, I think the real thing that we've seen is it's gone from a niche into mainstream, right? So, the best way I can put it is when utilities say it's the best, cheapest, fastest way to do things, it's reality. So at the utility scale, your electric utilities are often deploying solar, energy storage, even fleet EV charging applications because it is revenue generating, as accretive, it helps their investors side of it. Again, no one's doing this for the old altruistic reasons. It's much, much more about economics today than it was, say, 6, 7, even 10 years ago. The costs have come down as we've increased manufacturing scale. A lot of that manufacturing is predominated by Southeast Asian countries, China's being the biggest, but a lot of manufacturing is now in India, Taiwan, Thailand, Malaysia, you name it. And I think really that's brought down cost significantly across the scale, which makes every one of these projects much more cost effective. I think when we look at kind of pulling back on it, utilities have kind of been in a fight a fight with us in a way, right? Every time we sell solar that sits on a commercial building's roof or on a residential rooftop in a way that's less revenue for them. So we're kind of in this unique push-pull model with them. They want to own solar when they can put it on, a field that they can rate base and charge everybody for. They don't love it when you and I take power back into our hands, right? So that's one challenge I think we're seeing coming more and more to the forefront. You see that in California and how the policies changed a little bit more favorably from the old NEM 1 to NEM 2 to now NEM 3. It's less favorable economics for individual owners of facilities. But I think that's one of the big shifts we've seen on it. Again, we've kind of eaten enough market share. I think the other thing, if we look at the last 2-3 years, electricity is no longer a forgotten line item on someone's budget. It's much more aware, right? So when you get 10, 20% rate increases for 2 and 3 years in a row, particularly in the US, people are much more aware of their electricity costs, all the way down to the residential level. I think it made it on some of the national discussions in the presidential election, right? That tells you how much more people are aware of this and how much more that awareness can now drive, different behavior on how you're going to do stuff. Take energy independence, put solar on your roof, what have you. It gives you a much different shift on what people are doing versus just being a out of sight, out of mind kind of consideration.
Right. So with all that, where do you see the biggest opportunities for innovation or impact within the solar industry right now?
Yeah, I think really, the technology is very immature, at least on the solar side. So if we look at solar, pretty much everything is relatively plug and play. I can take modules from almost any manufacturer. I can take inverters from almost any manufacturer, and they're going to work together. I don't have to worry about sort of is it going to work or not? We've done a really good job of that. On the energy storage side, it's mostly sort of single system solutions, right? I'll go to Tesla and buy a mega pack, or I'll go to, SYL Horizon and buy a complete system from them. But again, they're not quite, as customized. I can't just buy, a component from A and B and energy storage and make them work together. Partly that's due to certification stuff. In the US in particular, installation prices of solar in particular are much, much higher than anywhere else in the world. And that's not because it's that much more expensive to do stuff here. It's because we have tariffs. This predates the whole Trump administration tariffs, the ACCBD tariffs, and things like that have really driven up the cost of solar installation in the United States. But there are still a lot of things that can happen to change how we deploy really any energy technology in the US. 50 states, every utility is different. Every state or city or county permitting authority is different on how you do it. There's no consistency. Why should I be limited to do a solar project to a megawatt when I'm in Ohio, or 2 megawatts in Pennsylvania, or 50 kilowatts in West Virginia? Should all be relatively the same. National policy would be great. We don't have that. But at least a more unified approach would be very, very beneficial to bring those costs down on that side of it. At the policy level, it's called the solar coaster for a reason, right? We've gone these boom and bust cycles because of investment tax credit. It's here, it's gone, it's sunsetting, it's not sunsetting. Now we have a bonus, now we don't, right? And all those things make it much harder for customers to kind of get their arms around what does this really mean? I think at a policy level, if we want to level the playing field, take off all the incentives, take off all the benefits, natural gas included, right? Let's not incentivize natural gas with no tax credits or low tax credits. Let's make it even playing field and let's see where everybody lands. I think that would be a great approach if we could. But for the technology side, I think really we're looking for tools always to kind of make this better, cheaper, faster. How can we streamline it? How can we use AI? How can we use machine learning and things like that to identify opportunities, quicken the design cycle, reduce the cost to deploy, and make everything happen much faster?
So you mentioned one thing there. If the playing field was leveled, all incentives removed all across the board, do you think that solar would definitely be in a better place than it is right now? Be like more competitive?
I think there's a lot of industry argument on, have we used investment tax credit as a crutch? Does it end up just being more margin for everybody versus everybody being smart and saying, no tax credits, let's get lower cost, right? So that's one side of it. I think there's another side of it that says, if it was truly level playing field and we're not putting high tariffs on the equipment, I can build solar for $1 watt in Canada, it costs me $1.80 a watt in the US. Why? A lot of that's tariff driven, right? So if we take those two sides of it off, no incentives, but level playing field, I think that's a really great side of it. If we actually assign some value or cost to natural gas on the pollution impact to everybody's health, it would certainly make those look more expensive on paper.
Right.
So I think it's a question of, where do we go as a country? I think if you look at what Europe's done, it's been much more progressive on carbon tax and carbon border adjustment regimes. It's also been much more focused on, hey, we'll take advantage of low cost equipment and deploy fast, particularly in the wake of the Ukraine-Russian war. A lot of stuff went up very, very quickly because it was the only way you could get energy. I think if all things being equal, I think things are going to be very competitive. I think it's just a matter of seeing how much policy can kind of push things one direction or another for a short period of time, but ultimately economics are going to win out.
Yeah. Time will tell. We'll just have to wait and see, but we'll see. Hopefully it'll go in the right direction, but
right
now, like you said, time will tell. All right, let's jump into Enerlogics. Tell us a little more about Enerlogics. What do you guys do, and who do you do it for?
We develop innovative and customized energy solutions for facilities that are larger energy users, commercial, industrial facilities, educational, municipal clients. We're really trying to do that to help them reduce their costs, achieve sustainability goals, and be really ready for an electrified future. What does that mean? Really, we develop and deploy solutions that use everything from solar, energy storage, prime power generation. We're doing some fleet EV charging applications to really help those facilities, again, be ready for the future, right? So whether it's cost reduction, whether it's sustainability or both, whether it's actually being able to power, fleet EV charging, let's think of electric semis, electric reefer units and things like that they can't otherwise get the power for. We're designing those systems for them. And we're trying to do it always through the lens of what's the most cost-effective way to do this. There's always an expensive way. There's always a cheap way. We're trying to strike that balance. We're not cheap. We're not going to be the cheapest, but we want a system that's going to be there and going to last for the next 25, 30 years. Lowest life cycle cost that we can get to, but something that's going to actually perform over that time period.
Okay. What would you say so far in your career here has been one of your proudest moments in terms of impact or outcomes?
Every project we do has its challenges, opportunities, and silver linings, I guess is the best way to put it. We're very, I guess I said the first project we did was the hardest, right? It took us 4 years from concept to deployment. It was one of the first landfill solar projects in the state of Ohio. We kind of got through the process with the Ohio EPA. It was a tri-party agreement between us, the municipal utility, and the county that was the off-taker. It had a lot of headaches on it. And, I'm really proud that we got that one built. I'll take it all the way forward to where we are today. We're deploying a series of technologies for a single customer. They're in the food distribution business. It's carport canopy solar. It is, a large energy storage system. It is that fleet EV charging application that are all working synergistically to be able to help them mitigate their impact, how much power they're using from their grid, how much they're using from our solar, but in a very cost-effective way. Those are really exciting because we get to do those kind of things. I'd say what really makes us proud is when we have customers call us back, right? When we go one site, it's great. If you do one and you're done, you didn't do a good job. If you do one and you're called back for two more, you're doing a good job. We're doing that with our customers now. So those that have multi-sites, when we get that call back to do more, or those customers that we've done one site because that's all they have and they refer us to 3 and 4 more, that's really what makes this business exciting, right? It's knowing that you've done a good enough job that somebody else is willing to stick their neck out again and again and again to come back to you.
Right. Yep. Exactly. If you look at Enerlogics right now, what stage would you say that you are in, and what would growth look like over the next, say, 12 months for you?
We're a 16-year-old company, but we're still innovative and new, right? So we started the company on the backs of doing utility program administration, saw opportunities with energy efficiency, ran some energy efficiency incentive programs, ran some demand response programs for those, and had sort of development in parallel with it. We pivoted to 100% development focused right about the same time COVID started. Not great timing, is what it is, but we're squarely back on our feet and growing. There's been a little bit of a hiccup/opportunity with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. So it put sunsets on the solar ITC. Energy storage still has a long runway till 2032. Other technologies have a longer runway as well. But it's really given us the opportunity to leverage the sunset as a sales tool. We have customers all the time. Hey, I know the ITC is going away. I want to move fast. How do they move fast? Get on a contract. Let's get going. So really, we're in that, I'd say, hyper but narrow growth phase right now. We're just capturing as much as we can. It's a little nuts on how much it is, and everybody in the industry I talk to is like, we're in a nuts phase right now. We know that there's going to be a runway to build all those projects, but really the next 12 months are going to be really about executing on those contracts we're getting under deployment or under contract over the next 6 to 12 months. Beyond that, I think there's tremendous opportunity as we look at everything else. Data center growth is massive. Energy growth is massive. Again, we're technology agnostic, so it doesn't really matter to us what we're building. It's what's cost effective for our customers. And we don't think that's going to slow down anytime soon.
And would you say your customer base is more residential customers or commercial?
100% commercial, zero residential. Yeah, well, I'd say we're roughly 50-50-ish right now on a private sector versus public sector. That kind of ebbs and flows. What's I think unique about us is we're agnostic in how we deliver it. If the customer owns the facility or owns the project, or we're financed, we don't care. We give them both options. And I'd say, again, we're probably roughly a 40-60 split right now, 40% financed, 60% owned by the customer, just because of the ITC, IRA, Inflation Reduction Act. Public sector clients can now own it and take the tax credit. Before that, they couldn't. So again, we've seen kind of those ebbs and flows of how delivery gets done. Look at it all as a Lego building block, right? We've got finance with or without. We've got technologies, take your pick. We're kind of integrating all that together in a way that's a unique set of puzzle pieces that make it fit for that customer. That's the best way we've seen to be able to go to market.
Okay. So far with your outreach pipeline and lead conversion, have you been facing any bottlenecks?
It's getting customers, right? So our customers are deciding at sort of 3 personas. You've got the facility manager that wants better operations, no headaches. You've got a CFO that wants this to be cost effective. In some cases, you have a chief sustainability officer or somebody like that, that has that needs to have some sustainability goals, and maybe a fourth, which is an energy buyer. It's getting all those personas aligned on what it is they want. That's extremely challenging. Finding those people on top of that is even harder, right? So finding customers or customer facilities that have significant enough scale, whether it's one site, multi-site, whether in states that are advantageous for what we do. It's finding all that's been really hard, right? So the lead generation is a hard part of it. Once we find a lead, we do a really good job of getting those over that. But again, historically, this has been an out of sight, out of mind, right? It's a low budget item. They've got CapEx to go do, an industrial plant expansion, but they can't get CapEx to save themselves, $100,000 a year. That's been part of the challenge on the decision side of it. But, I'd say really kind of our challenge we're hitting right now is back to the lead generation side. How do we get to those, those right customer leads that are looking for a service, because it's not yet, I don't want to say it's not mainstream. It's definitely mainstream, but it's not top of mind for a lot of those folks.
Right. Yeah. It definitely can be a little difficult sometimes, because a lot of people, like we mentioned before, a lot of people don't necessarily look at solar as their number one option. It's like, okay, it's there, clean energy's there, but they rely on electric company and other sources instead. So I can understand on the outreach side why it could be a little difficult sometimes getting people to just sign on or even just hear what you have to say and listen at all.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a long sales cycle. So it's getting someone to understand. And I think what we've done, uniquely has been very much on a consultation kind of concept. We want to guide you through the process. We're not here to sell you. It doesn't make sense to you. I mean, I've told customers, hey, solar's not right for you. That's okay. I'm happy to educate you. Happy to show it to you. I've had customers, I've literally said, it's great that you want to do it. I don't think it's the right time for you. It doesn't make sense economically. Let's wait until your costs are higher, or you replace that roof first and then come back to us and we'll talk about it then. But I think being open and honest in this industry, in any industry, is very advantageous. And I think it helps you, build trust with those customers.
So for those customers that are a little hesitant and resistant, have you heard any misconceptions from them? Like, are they telling you that, this is not ideal, it's not real, it's a scam or sham or anything like that? Do you ever face those type of comments from people that you speak to?
Yeah, I'd say less the scam or sham kind of thing, more on the uncertainty on some of the policy side, right? So if I look at what happened from IRA, Inflation Reduction Act, to One Big Beautiful Bill Act, some of those changes I think have actually borne fruit, right? I mean, none of us in the industry thought there was going to be a sunsetting of the ITC as quickly as they proposed. It was actually more draconian at one point in time. It got a little bit less severe. So I think there's been some uncertainty on that side of it from the outside looking in. As terms of the technology, I think a lot of folks, it's still, there's been enough deployments in certain states where there's a lot more trust of the technology per se. California being heavy, you look at Florida, you look at sort of the sunshine states have had a lot of deployment. Yeah. Texas is still a phenomenal market, right? Texas is an oil and gas, Houston, Texas is the oil and gas epicenter of the country, right? And you look at the number of deployments of solar and energy storage, even all the way up to the residential rooftop in that state. They're not doing it because they're anti-oil. They're not doing it because they're pro-solar. They're doing it because the economics make sense. And it's being shown time and time again. So I think the more we point to where it's been proven out, it's beneficial for all of us.
Right, okay. If I was a new young professional and I wanted to jump into the solar space, what kind of advice would you give to someone like me, or who wants to get their hand in solar and do their part? What could I do?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, the simple stuff in every business always applies, right? Be curious, learn as much as you can about the energy industry in general. We're not in a vacuum of just solar, we're in the energy industry, but be aware of what's going on in the world, be aware of what's going on in energy. There's a lot of great resources out there for it and publications that do a great job of showing about that. Number two, seek out a mentor. There are enough of us in this industry that want to bring on the next generation of people. We're all happy to mentor. It's a very small industry, right? Energy in general, solar in particular, very small industry. Everybody somewhat knows everybody. We compete on projects, but we're all frenemies, if you will, right? I mean, we all work together on certain projects. Don't burn bridges, right? I mean, that's simple stuff. But I think being curious, finding a mentor, finding a champion that's going to, willing to spend some time with you, I think is a great way to do it. And I think it's just, be respectful and ask questions. I've done calls with, friends, college kids that want to know about the industry. Happy to talk about it, right? And I think everybody that's in the industry is very knowledgeable and willing to share what we have because it is our passion. So seek those right people out.
Absolutely. It's great advice. You mentioned not long ago about lead generation being one of your toughest pain points, I would say. That is actually something that we do at KG Nexus AI. We assist companies with lead generation. And I'd be happy to have a further conversation with you after this if you want to jump in a little more and see how we could assist you with our offerings with that.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Well, Scott, tell the people, how can they get in touch with Enerlogics?
Like everybody, we're on the web, www.enerlogics, that's ENERLOGICS.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn, myself or the company. But yeah, happy to be with you guys and happy to talk more about everything we do with any of your listeners.
Perfect. And we will link that in the description below so you'll have access to those links for Enerlogics. Scott, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you got a lot going on, but I do appreciate you coming on and doing the show with me.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thanks, Corey.
All right. Thank you. Take care, everyone.